Senator Alicia Lovejoy. Today we welcome to the studio 9 well-known historical figures from the pre-Civil War period. Our guests have varied opinions on slavery and will share their beliefs about what their solution is to the growing crisis in our country. I am joined by HRN News reporter Nellie Bly, who will take part in questioning take part in questioning of our guests. Gentlemen, this is not a debate, but a forum. You will be each asked questions where you can share your views. Please do not interrupt another participant. We will begin with the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. Welcome, Mr. President.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Mr. President, you were a slave owner, but at the same time you criticize it. Can you explain yourself?
I admit it is a contradiction, but I do believe that slavery is wrong. Slavery is a hideous evil, a great moral, and a political wrong. It debases black people and makes whites into petty tyrants. I fear that sooner or later these slaves will rise up in insurrection. I also feel and tremble that God is just, and He will be on the black side and not ours.
Very strong words, Mr. President. If you believe this, then why don't you free your slaves?
Sadly, I admit I am trapped by the system. I inherited slaves. Anything I have is due to this awful system. I have debts, many of them. It is like having a wolf by the ears. If you hold on, I'm a fool. And if I let go, I will surely be torn apart.
Aren't you, Senator Clay? You have proposed a different solution to end the problem of slavery, have you not?
Yes, I have. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to meet you. Been a big fan. Then, as for my argument, like President Jefferson, I believe in gradual emancipation. As a matter of fact, much of my plan revolves around the ideas of the former president. However, I reason that no southern state would accept a gradual emancipation plan without first having a colonization plan in place.
How did you start this colonization plan?
Well, in 1816, I helped set up the American Colonization Society. We were not an abolitionist society, as so many Southerners accused us of being. Our goal was strictly to colonize free blacks outside the country. We believed only the state governments could abolish slavery.
How successful was your plan, Senator Clay?
Unfortunately, not very much at all. We never persuaded many blacks to leave. Most were born here in the U.S. and had roots here. They had no more ties to Africa than do you or I. Many freed blacks suggested I should send the slaveholders there. In 36 years, only 7,000 left.
Next, we have Nat Turner. Mr. Turner, thank you for attending this forum.
My pleasure. But I know there are others who are uncomfortable with my presence.
Mr. Turner, before we get on your solution, I wanted you to comment on the fact that you were considered the smartest man in the South Compton country, Virginia. Yet you were a slave. How did you earn this reputation?
Yes. Most people say that because I learned how to read by the age of 6, which was very rare for a slave, and then memorized the entire Bible by the age of 7. I eventually became a slave preacher. I was even given special freedom to travel the countryside and preach at other plantations. In these travels, I saw the evils of slavery, the beatings, the cruelty. I came to believe there was no such thing as a kind slave owner. Ownership of another human being is never kind. My rage grew.
So what was your solution?
Well, I was very angry at all I saw, so in the summer of 1831, I fasted for 5 or 6 days. I began to have visions. I saw blood in the sky and restless angels. A voice boomed out of the sky and said, "You will arise! The first shall be the last, and the last shall be first." It was to be just like the Israelites in the Old Testament. My solution became clear. As I was to lead a slave revolt against the slaveholders, I wanted to put fear into white people.
And this revolt was successful?
The largest slave revolt in history. I was joined by 60 other slaves, and for 3 days, we killed about 75 people.
You axed them to death!
Senator Calhoun, please.
You slaughtered innocent women and children, no matter what their age!
They deserved what they got!
He's a hero!
Order, order! We will have no more outbursts!
Back to the South.
You have a very different take on slavery, don't you, Senator?
Absolutely. Our plan is a direct reaction to fools like Garrison.
Fools.
Please, Senator, refrain from insulting our other guests.
These abolitionists are violent and evil folk. Abolitionists and the Union cannot coexist. We will not surrender our domestic institutions.
What exactly is your plan, Senator Calhoun?
Slavery should spread to all federal territories. We have a right to take our property no matter where we travel. I can take my horse and my hat to the federal territories, can I not? Then I can also take my slaves. I also call for a party of just Southerners. We must unite against the abolitionist frontal assault. Our Constitution should be amended to allow for the election of 2 presidents. One from the South, and one from the... one from the North. Someone must look out for our rights.
You have also spoken against the Declaration of Independence. What do you find offensive?
Why, Jefferson's sentimental rubbish about all men created equal? What trash. It's all self-evident lie. We men are not born to begin with. Babies are born, not men. Especially not blacks. Besides, slavery is a positive good. It's good for
That's
blacks.
not how God sees it. There is no difference between
You
a black-
bitter fanatics, you are the lunatic fringe. If the northern states don't shut up for the likes of you, then you are going to plunge this country into civil war.
So be it, I welcome it.
Gentlemen, stop this. I said you would all get your chance to talk. I think it is best that we move on to Mr. Fitzhugh.
Well, good, because I would love to add to what the Honorable Senator Calhoun from Senator South Carolina just said. Instead of this created equal rubbish, Jefferson should have said that some men are born with saddles on their backs and others with spurs to ride them on.
Reality. Slavery is so entrenched that there is no peaceful solution. You're not going to solve it by appealing to morality, and you're not going to solve it through popular sovereignty, and you're not going to solve it through contending it. The only way to solution is blow out.
Blow it out?
Violence! Slavery itself is a state of war, and it deserves violence as retribution.
So you want a civil war?
Yes, better than an entire generation die and be swept away than slavery be here another day. The crime of this guilty land can only be purged away with blood.
And you had planned to start one.
God has called me to rid this country of slavery. I took a guerrilla army of 21 recruits and we raided the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia.
Terrorists.
The plan was to steal guns there and then strike southward through the mountains and to incite a massive slave revolt across the whole South.
Yeah, we saw how good that
The whole South would be in flames.
What if you failed?
There was no failure. Even though we were captured by Colonel Robert E. Lee, I knew we still would.
Hero.
This was my plan B. Our raid would so traumatize the South that the reaction would be cataclysmic. I knew the South would so...